This is eCoffee with Experts, where marketers and founders share what's actually working in SEO, AI, and digital growth. Grab your coffee and fuel your mind as we chat with top minds about their wins, struggles, and lessons you won't find in a blog post. Brought to you by Digital Web Solutions, we bring real talk to help you grow your business, one episode at a time. Let's get started.
Brian Gorman, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
You are the director of SEO, the SEO director at Sixth City Marketing. Gosh, I had my tongue tied. My tongue is already on a weekend break since it's a Friday right now. But you didn't always start in SEO. Give me a little bit of a background, like what brought you into SEO and what you were doing before.
Sure. Yeah, I kind of came into it from a totally different specialty, like I think a lot of people. I'm a musician by degree. I play guitar and drums, and I'm a songwriter. I became a music teacher at a private school and absolutely loved it. And then I realized I can't continue that as a career. So I was like, what should I do? My buddy said, you should try marketing. And I did. I started as a backlink removal specialist. So there's maybe some good stuff to talk about there. I moved on to another agency, learned technical SEO, moved on to another one, and then brought in, the content side of things. So I had a pretty well-rounded skill set. Freelanced for a while and then decided that really wasn't for me. And so I found this great boutique agency out of Ohio, Sixth City. I'll talk to branding about the tongue twister there. But yeah, so that's where I find myself. I'm SEO director there. I have a great team and just still loving marketing pretty much about 14, 15 years later.
Yeah, it is interesting. A lot of the folks that I talk to, very rarely did they go to school for marketing or anything like that, particularly at agencies. I think agencies kind of have that cultural vibe of like, we're going to clan together and bring kind of this clandestine group of lads together and just conquer the world. But it really does seem like the folks who are in the creative fields tend to do well in marketing. Although there is a lot of talk about, AI and tech, still the human element and the niche and the nuance and the taste is at the beginning, like at the forefront of good marketing. What are your thoughts on keeping the human in the center when it comes to SEO?
Yeah, I have a lot to say here. I'm really still, even though I have like a technical background, I always hold the tension between technical and that human side of things, that creative side of things. Because one thing that dawned on me years ago was there's a lot of brands and individuals that built empires on the web with no knowledge of SEO. Maybe they did some by accident, but they had no intention of doing it like we do. And I honestly think that when you're free from that intention, you can sometimes create the highest performing content that you're going to create. So to me, technical has over the years become more and more kind of like music theory. So music theory, you have it, but if all you create is just based on theory, it's rigid and lifeless and probably won't perform well. So it's there if you need it. It's there if there's an issue you can't figure out or you don't know what chord to go to next or whatever, but you don't lead with it. And that's kind of my marketing philosophy right now is I lead with human, I lead with creativity, and I've got the technical toolkit if I need to solve an issue or to give the content some treatments after the fact. That's one way I use it. I might sit down and do an expert interview, turn it into a fantastic blog post that the audience is going to love. It's a topic they care about. So all that's the human thing. And then I might go in and do some subtle treatments. I don't want to completely siphon out all the life, but I might do some subtle treatments to, the structure and the language and the linking and stuff like that. That's the technical stuff. And to me, that's the dance that I'm seeing a lot of success with.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, what I get out of that is good SEO is natural. Like good SEO is human. And you bring up a good point. Before all of this, before SEO was a career path, it's really about like, how do I make my brand and my message connect with the people I want it to connect with? Like at the very core, it's how well do other humans understand me? And then how can I then reflect back and just keep being me? You know what I mean? In a very, musician style. So you started mentioning just now, like doing a expert interview and then turning it into a content piece. How else are you bringing that sort of human element in there, like in SEO?
Yeah. Well, definitely through audience research tactics. So I'm doing a lot more now with social media comments. I'm a big YouTube
Mm,
junkie. I love YouTube. And I think there's a ton of untapped value there. So
mhm,
one exercise, just to give your audience some value if they want to try something like this, is take a priority keyword, search it on YouTube, find some of the highest performing videos because those are probably going to have a lot of comments.
mhm,
Visit the video, do the hard, laborious work of scrolling down to reveal as many comments as you can, scoop those up and throw them into an AI and start drawing out some insights because within those comments, there's going to be questions, there's going to be concerns, there's even going to be things that people say that they love about the video, about how the topic was covered, whatever it is. But there's going to be a lot of value there. And that's just YouTube. You can do the same thing on X, you can do it on TikTok. And so that's the audience research part for me has become a lot more expansive.
mm,
Back in the day, SEO audience research was really just keyword research, but
yeah.
now keyword research is a smaller part of a larger audience research exercise. And one more tip, because I'm going to try to give as much value as I can to the audience in every comment. Another really powerful audience research tactic with regard to kind of like that social listening, go to a Reddit thread. Again, that's relevant to a topic or a product or whatever is relevant to your business, open that Reddit thread and then append onto the URL .json, JSON. And what
Mm,
you'll get is you'll get a JSON readout of that thread. But here's the big advantage. All the comments are included in that JSON. If you were to try grabbing all the comments and all the replies on a thread, you would have to manually open them. But get the JSON because it's got all the comments, it's got all the replies. It's got all the reactions. Again, you can throw that into AI. One exercise I love to do, other than just grabbing insights, like what are people talking about? What could I use on my site to write blogs about or enhance a product page? Look at the comments with the most upvotes because those are things people found most valuable. You're
mm,
going to want to focus on those things and understand why. Why did they find that valuable? And how can I use that answer to why on my own site and in my own content? So there's a
mm.
lot more audience research exercises I'm doing now because of this AI revolution. I'd love to talk to you at some point in the podcast about kind of the slaps on the wrist Google has given us over the years
Mm.
that sort of aimed us in the right direction again. And I definitely think this whole AI search thing has done that for me. It's taught me you need to get better at audience research and understanding them. You need to do more on social media, et cetera, et cetera.
Man, that is juicy stuff. And I love the .json. It's something I never even thought of. Going to sort of comment sections is, we're hearing it more and more, the social listening aspect of things, and looking for the most upvoted certainly can give us a direction of, what we need to focus on in terms of like what our product, what our service really talks about. A thought just came to mind and I'd love to bounce it off of you is if you're also looking at thumbs down on YouTube or downvotes on Reddit, you can kind of do a contrarian piece or be like, what's the deal with X topic, right? I mean, seems to me like that would be a great avenue.
You absolutely could do that. That's really
Yeah.
good. I'm kicking myself for not thinking about that. I just went positive, but glass half empty, Austin
Yeah.
over here. Yeah, you absolutely could do that. And that's what I
Cool.
love about this. There's a little bit of chaos out there. Like
Mm,
it's Wild West. We have these language models who you can converse with, quote unquote. And I've always thought like over the years, the best marketers I've encountered are always the ones with the best ideas.
mm,
And I'm not saying this in a negative way. It just
mhm,
hasn't been the deep technical people or the ones who know every line of a patent or something like that. They are unbelievably helpful, don't get me
mhm,
wrong. But it's just for pure marketing and results and like zest in your brand and how it's put out there, it's always been people with the best ideas. So we've got these great tools. We're thinking more expansively because we have to. We
mhm.
know it now. And it's going to be the people who have the best ideas for combining this stuff that are going to win. One other that I want to share This is a
Mm,
little bit of a tangent, but just you said that and I thought of it and I really want to give it to your audience.
rock and
Another
roll.
exercise I love doing for a local business is go to your competitors' Google business profiles, open up the reviews, sort by negative, go grab those and ask AI, what is this business blowing it on? What are they doing a terrible job with? Now, of course, just like the previous exercise, by the way, you're going to get some, sometimes you do the exercise and there's nothing of value that comes out of it.
Mm,
But I'll tell you, I've done this a lot and there are some amazing insights that come out of that can become differentiators, things that you lean in on as a local business on your homepage, on your
mm.
service pages. And it's going to tend to really resonate with people. So that's just another random one that kind of came into my mind as you were talking.
Yeah, this is so good. I remember a long time ago, I was on a Tony Robbins webinar. I think it was probably in 2020. And he was saying something about go to the book reviews on Amazon and find all the negative ones. And therefore, you can, like, have whatever, you can have content where you address those challenges and say, this is what I actually do. And those Google My Business reviews, I mean, I think it would especially be powerful for local businesses, right? I mean,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. Looking at local businesses because you can like point down the street and be like, they suck at this. So just like, walk down the street or drive 5 miles or whatever. This is really good. And keep them coming, Brian. Like, I love this sort
Okay.
of, this tactical stuff. I wanted to draw the attention back to something that you just brought up, which is the slap on the wrist from Google. What do you mean?
Yeah, I just really wanted to talk to you about this just to see if you agree. But over the years, now I know it's popular to say that like, oh yeah, Google says one thing, but we all know the truth. But
Hmm.
actually, if you look back at it, they have done some things that have slapped us on the wrist and made us behave. And
Mm,
actually, I think it's made us all better marketers if you follow it. For
mm,
instance, I started as a backlink removal specialist,
hmm.
sites that were purchasing backlinks and just farming. And they got crushed overnight by Penguin, Panda. Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm
I think
probably
it's Penguin.
misremembering. Penguin, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So they got slammed. And the lesson that taught me immediately was you got to do this the right way. If you cheat, you're eventually going to lose and you're going to lose big because these are
Mm,
sites that were ranking number 1. They were on page 18 overnight and it was very expensive to try to recover.
mm,
So that was kind of an action that put into place a philosophy in my marketing that has never gone away. I still feel the same way about backlinks. It's just hard work. The real benefit comes from
mm,
sweat. It's not just lazy tactics or being clever. I've never trusted that since.
mm.
Same thing with, I think, maybe hummingbird and keyword stuffing. That's ridiculous. And that got completely out of control. And it made us all better writers.
Yeah.
And with this whole AI thing, I feel the same way. It's really taught us that, at least this is the message I got when I reflected. You're too focused on your website. You're too focused on keywords, right? You're too narrow. You have to back up and think bigger. And
Mm,
that's something I think all marketers should do on a regular basis. Always think bigger picture, back out, and kind of distill down to what the essence is of what you're trying to do. Keep it simple and guide your initiatives from there. Because if you get overly tactical and you get too narrow, you're just going to miss the bigger picture. And for me, the bigger picture was it isn't just about a website. You're trying to get a brand out there to connect to people. So why would
mm,
I just do a website? Of course, I have to get on socials. Of course, I have to do more with my PR. And in fact, make real connections with journalists. Get friendly with them. Make it a real connection so it can be like a recurring thing. You just have to think more expansively. And that's kind of what I meant when we were talking before about going more human. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for connection in all ways. My marketing has become way more expansive.
mm,
And I've actually really enjoyed that. It's been great to not just worry about a website, but help a brand get in front and, quote unquote, face to face with their audience on a YouTube channel
mm.
or post a bit more thought leadership on LinkedIn, stuff like that. But anyway, that's what this whole like AI renaissance hit me as like a cold water splash was. I need a reality check. I'm too narrow.
Like a ice bucket challenge from back in the
Yeah.
day. Yeah, call back. Yeah, you were mentioning that you're kind of using AI for the bookends of content creation process, at least, like using it to help you do research, you write for the majority of the, majority of the article or whatever it is, and then you can use AI at the other bookend to clean it up and format it correctly. That's where we can optimize. But in the middle, like it can be messy, but messy is human. I was actually writing a article yesterday just talking about why, in terms of business development, I'm in email a lot, and a lot of the folks may have had an interest at one time, but then 6, 7 emails later, they're still not responding. Over Halloween and also Christmas, I did a campaign where I just went through and like sent a bunch of memes, and kind of like it almost seemed like I was like ready to, I was already on the eggnog in my in my emails. I wasn't, but those got like almost a 50% response rate of people being like, "Hey, happy holidays, like, sorry we ghosted you." And a lot of those moved forward. I don't know the exact number. It can't be 100%, but that's the point, is understanding that you have flaws and other people also have flaws, and like you sharing your flaws and the authenticity connects better with people on the other side. Like if you're too polished, it doesn't connect with people, it doesn't meet them where they're at.
Oh, that's so true. I saw on LinkedIn, someone said, like YouTube isn't about vibes. And I agree on a technical level. Like you kind of can't argue with that because it's algorithmic, or,
Mhm.
you have to put certain things in place to get it to pick you up. But honestly, at the end of the day, I just disagree with that. My hot take
Mm.
is it's absolutely about vibes. If you're a brand and you have an audience and those two things are human, it's about vibes. You have to
Mm.
read them and feel them and time things right and say things in the right way. And you can't get that output out of tools. There's not, I mean, a tool can like help guide you, but at the end of the day, you need to be connecting to your audience. I'd love to share a couple of things. My
Mm.
AI content writing process with your
Yeah.
audience. And
Awesome.
I would also like to share a killer process where 30 minutes a month can generate an incredible amount of content for socials and a website.
Oh yeah, I'm all ears on that second one for sure.
And it's content that will perform. All right. My first one is the AI content writing process because you were talking about human in the middle.
Yes.
And I feel like this is so important. At Six City, we do AI at the edges. And in the
Okay.
middle, it's the human mess. And that's exactly what we want, like you were talking about.
Mm.
So at the front, it's going to be research. Notebook LM is a phenomenal resource for this because it can take a ton of source material. It can actually help you discover sources very quickly with its new discover feature.
Mm.
And you can add in anything else you would like as well. And one thing that we add to kind of the research and learning sources that are in Notebook is a client notebook extraction. So we have a notebook for every single client, and
Mm.
all it holds is onboarding transcript, homepage and service page copy,
Mm.
brand press kits, like everything that's going to tell us about the brand, the priorities, the differentiators, and the audience. So we do an extraction out of that and we put it into our research notebook. And that really helps our writers, kind of get up to speed on the topic that they're writing about. And it keeps everything aligned with the business priorities and what they care about. So
Mm.
we do some research. Another thing we do with Notebook is we create a great outline and a content brief to kind of, help prompt the writers. Now,
Mm.
in the middle, it's pure writing. And our writers have, a variety of expertise as well, but we just do this to kind of round it out. But that writing step in the middle is untouched. That there
Mm.
is no AI there. And then on the other side of it, we do an accuracy check. So we check the accuracy against the client information once again.
Mm.
And we do an editing step, make sure that the headings are written really well and they're audience relevant. So we don't fuss over keywords. We're not even thinking about that.
Mm.
We want to delight the audience. And then finally, we're going to do an AI formatter. So this will create, big, bold callouts. It'll create tables. It'll do all the standard stuff too, like bulleting, bolding,
Mhm.
italicize. And make sure there's no long paragraphs. And sometimes it'll even create a visual. So it just keeps the content scannable, interesting, and also easy to ingest if you're
Mm.
an AI system or a
Mhm.
search engine for that matter. So that's kind of like our AI writing process in a nutshell. It's AI at the edges, human in the middle.
I love how, if I can just jump in there, man, that's, first of all, Notebook LM is amazing. I remember when I learned about it for the first time, I was actually more enthralled with the podcast feature, which is it's like a cool sizzle feature, but it's not like super tactical or useful in terms of marketing. But I like what you said is delight the audience. And I think we can all agree that the best content comes from people who really have deep knowledge and expertise, and they can use the vernacular of the industry like it's there's no second thought to it. And you're saying like for each client, no matter the industry that they're in, you're taking their onboarding calls and talking with those experts, documenting all of that and everything that they have on the website to train your writers who maybe are not experts in that field to make them sound like experts in that field. Is that what you're kind of saying?
100%. And
Oh
it
yeah.
reduces the QA. It actually helps a lot with retention because the clients just feel
Mm,
like, you're getting it. You're speaking in my voice. And they always, by the way, will contribute additional thoughts
mhm.
and quotes, and they'll make adjustments and things like that because you can't write exactly like the client would. But
Yeah.
yes, it's very, very helpful. And this whole idea of client knowledge, one of the biggest things you can do as a marketer is understand that when you're working with a brand or an individual, there's someone on the other side of that phone call that has the most amazing information, but it's locked away in their head. And it's
Mm,
your job to get it out, to store it, and then to utilize it on their web properties, whether that's a website or a social channel. That's
mm,
it. If you can do that, and it's not easy to do because there's a lot of
yeah.
communication and things like that and tactical things. But if you can learn how to do that as efficiently as possible, your marketing results are going to skyrocket.
Mm,
Client knowledge management, that's something, Notebook LM is quite good with. And that's a really, really important thing to be doing. And yeah, so that's a big priority. And one other thing I wanted to share too is here's a workflow. Now I'm going to give you a lot of steps and detail, but I'll try to go through it efficiency. But this is incredibly powerful. So one thing I've been doing with willing clients is I find that expert and we book a meeting for 30 minutes once a month. And I do that very deliberately because I'm trying not to ask too much of them, but I'm trying to get a
mhm,
lot out of them.
mm,
And what I do is I research and gather 15 audience relevant questions for them. You can use Gemini Deep Research for this. You can use Perplexity. I suggest using a variety of tools and social listening to kind of put together a great set of questions.
mm,
We get on the meeting. I ask them the questions. Now, it's a Google Meet. I'm recording it and I'm transcribing it. Once the meeting is done, I have a video. I throw it into CapCut and I make short and long form video out of it. That's going to be
mm,
for the video platforms. Then I go into the transcript and I take short bits of text for platforms like LinkedIn or Facebook. And I take anything long form. So these are answers that are maybe about 3 minutes or more, and they all
mhm,
become blog posts. And this is verbatim stuff. It's
mm.
messy, but it is laden with expertise and it performs incredibly well in search or in AI search with LLMs.
Really?
Yeah. So it's 30 minutes a month. Now, I'll tell you one of the yields I got the other day was 10 blog posts. I got about 7 YouTube videos, and I can't even tell you the number of shorts that I got from it. So the yield is unbelievable. And even the
Whoa.
client is surprised by it. That's a specific workflow with specific tools that you can use to kind of, generate this. And one tool I forgot to mention is consider Publer, because Publer, you can do a blast out to multiple platforms. You
Mm.
can do text and video format. I get it all scheduled. And then I just take a big screenshot of the calendar, send it to the client and be like, thanks for the 30-minute meeting. We got the whole month taken care of. When's the next session?
Whoa. Dude,
Yeah.
that is awesome. I love that. I mean, one of the questions I was gonna ask is what's your favorite tool right now? Like anything. What's your favorite tool? Is it Publer?
Okay. Publer is powerful, but I'm going to go recency bias and I'm going to say Claude Code.
Okay.
I'm going to say Claude Code. It's just so good. I like the way it answers better. It's a little less sycophantic and it just kind of gives it to you straight with no fluff.
Mhm.
It's incredibly powerful. It can handle a lot more information better, it seems. One thing I've been doing, I've been experimenting with creating full websites with AI and
Mm.
hosting them. And one thing I did, I just exported an entire website from WordPress, gave Claude Code the XML file, gave it the brand's new logo, and just said, here's the old site. here's the new logo, here's your design skill, which somebody put together, and it's incredible. And I was like, build the new site. And it just did a phenomenal job. Now I have a website that I have full control over, and Claude is my dev, design, and SEO interface. And I can just, I told it, go into the blogs and do right about in the middle of the page, give me a link to every service page, and it just goes in and does it. Okay, give me relevant interconnected schema for every page, goes in and does it. So Claude Code right now, I'm freaking out about.
That is freaking amazing. And yeah, I have heard, speaking of LinkedIn and LinkedIn influencers
Yeah.
and thought leaders, like Claude Code is everywhere. I used to work for Eric Sue with Single Grain, and he is always talking about Claude Code and his like different MCPs and everything that he's putting together. But that is a one that I've been hearing more and more is like Claude Code taking over entire teams, basically. I
Mm.
mean, what's the future of marketing roles? I guess how big of a learning curve is there? And like, yeah,
And getting into this stuff.
yeah,
A while back, I told the Six City team, now's the time to get into these tools and start goofing around with them, because there's kind of like learning the basics, but then there's learning the nuances and the specialties of the tools. That's
mm,
where the real important and critical learning happens. So it's kind of funny, but you got to spend time with them and get to know them. And then you start to understand like what they're best used for, how to prompt them, where they mess up, what's too much information in the context window, and what they're going to handle well.
hmm
So if you haven't yet, it's a good idea to get into the main ones like Notebook, Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini. GenSpark is another powerful one.
mm,
That's a good suite of tools right there. Get into
mm,
them and just start doing stuff with them. It's really important. Claude Code is great. It's a little trickier, to get used
hmm
to, but it's really not all that complicated.
sure,
And I think it's accessible. Can I just make a comment too? I'm not quite as, I guess, bullish as a lot of people on like AI replacing people or anything like that. I think it does some stuff pretty darn well, but it's
mm,
also like really rudimentary stuff. I just still see human beings doing work that just shatters any output that AI can do. But if it's very straightforward and very repetitive, then yes,
hmm
it can do it. It can do a great job building your schema. Claude Code can do a great job like going through and finding internal link opportunities. And what's kind of cool is like you can do it in a couple of ways. You can say like do it based on keywords, or you can even tell the thing create vector embeddings for the blog posts or every page on the site and do the internal linking based on relevance. Forget this
oh
keyword
yeah,
method. So that's a cool kind of workflow that I learned pretty much from Screaming Frog. And then, it kind of applies over into Claude Code.
yeah.
So there's things like that that can be done. But again, the real knockout punch, amazing marketing is still coming from human beings that understand the brand they're working with and the people that they're trying to connect with.
Yeah. Yeah. Someone who's walked the path before and they can really accentuate the emotions with personal experience is what I
Oh, yeah.
find. Yeah. Yeah. And like giving context of like age and location and relationships. Like, yes, AI can talk about that, but it's kind of like, like we were talking about with music, it can hit the chords in the right order and, have a quarter note next to a half note and progressions, but like something is just missing from there. And it's the backstory. And I feel like, if we're looking at SEO as art and science in this age, the science is pretty much taken care of. The algorithms like have it nailed. But the reason art has its value is because there's a story behind it. The art pieces that get stolen ramp up in value because now there's a cool story behind it. And it's the same thing with it sounds like that's your perspective on SEO. It's like, it's the story behind it, right?
I totally agree. Yeah, they can't experience anything.
Mm,
All they can do, even if they sound like they are writing about experience, they're probably just regurgitating someone else's.
yeah.
And I think like one of the bigger philosophies of mine is not just to zoom out and think bigger picture before you kind of create a strategy. Don't look for like, I don't know. Before I did it myself too, but I saw a lot of it. It's very like pieced together based on the fires that you see. So you pick out a lot of problems with the website and then you create a priority list and then you go after them. But for me, just thinking bigger picture of like, what's this brand trying to accomplish? Who do they want to be? Who do they want to connect with? Starting from there, then the initiatives are going to flow and they're all going to be aligned with, what the brand is going for. It's just a way better place to start from. So along with that kind of thinking, the other big thing to think about is like, how can I add value to the web? Not just pile on another dinner roll. It's like, let me really add value here. And I am seeing unique experience just crush it. Going back to the 30-minute a month session thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to be totally honest. I grabbed those transcript sections verbatim and I barely touched them and I just post them. I'm not going and being like, what's the vector embedding relevance of this to the, target keywords? And what's the, like, is this thing too long or is this not, you know what I mean? I'm not doing any of that. And it's showing up in AI, it's ranking, it's bringing in a ton of traffic.
Wow.
And the leads are going up too. So that's really an important qualifier for that traffic. It's not just vanity. And so, that stuff is performing really well. And I definitely think we underestimate people's evolving sensitivity to AI. Just go on Facebook and you'll see this gorgeous picture. And the first few comments are like, oh, that's amazing. But then the tide starts to turn and it's like, wait a minute, that's not Sweden. I went there last year. And then everyone just piles on and don't like it. So if you're not generating really unique, and I'm just so glad you said the messy thing, because like we need to be a little more comfortable with things being a little messy and just because there's a bigger point to what you're putting on the web. It's got to represent the brand and it's got to connect with the audience. If those are your North Stars, you're going to be in great shape.
Yeah, man, I absolutely love this conversation and I'm holding you longer than I'm supposed to, but it's such a good conversation. You're an amazing guest. There's a wonderful book I'm reading. It's called Behave, and the guy's name is Robert Sapolsky or something like that. I don't know, but he's talking about why humans behave, and it's not just any one subsegment of science like neuroscience or endocrinology or genetics or environment, whatever. It's a combination of all of those. And not to go on a tangent, but the book basically says, here's when the action happened, and then how do we stack those up in time before the action actually happened. But I'm bringing this up because the first chapter is all about neuroscience and connectivity in the brain. And he says that the smartest people, the reason that they're intelligent is because that the synapses basically bring information from further away in the brain, and they can bring it to certain points. So you're talking about like, just by what you say, like stop getting so micromanaged in like keywords or like even topic clusters, but just like draw your perspective back and have a larger perspective. That comes across to me as a sign of intelligence where you can connect two distant concepts and bring them together to reinforce a point of something that somebody cares about. That's why the human experience in writing is so interesting, is because like it doesn't follow a pattern. It follows a very weird, strewn out kind of connectivity.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And we're not advocating for being unaware of topic clusters and, all those kind of techniques that you apply. But yeah, if you get pulled too deep into them, I've just seen those strategies flop and you run out of gas and you don't know why things aren't working. And it's, to me, because you're not addressing the fundamental, you're addressing the edge case or the, kind of like the more advanced thing, but it's like the 5% of it or the 10% of it. And people may disagree with me and that's totally fine. Like, I honestly don't think there's one way to do SEO. I want to share with people what I'm having success with. And Austin, can I share one more thing with your audience?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, this is totally random and it just popped into my head, but I just want to make sure I'm giving as much value as I can.
Yeah.
Here's an awesome thing that I've been doing with LinkedIn and AI. And it doesn't have to be LinkedIn, but if you follow thought leaders, and I know your audience does, we all do, there is so much amazing stuff shared out there. Okay. And I'm going to give you an example. One of my connections shared this thing on top of funnel content. And he was like, here's why your top of funnel content is failing and losing traffic with AI. It's because your concept of it is wrong. If you do like a what is or a how to, that's going to get obliterated. But he's like, stop thinking of top of funnel content like that. You need to think of it like this. And then he just gave this incredible example. It was way more relevant. And anyways, I thought the post was magical. So I grabbed it and I threw it into a Claude project. And now I have a top of funnel content tool that keeps me on track. If I get an SEO strategy, or if I'm ideating for a client about what we should write about on their blog or wherever, I throw it into this tool, and this tool will hammer me if I'm doing the old tofu method. And it'll be like, don't write that, write this. And here's why this is way better, because it's way more targeted for your audience, and it's going to connect with their drivers, their pain points, and things like that. So if you see an awesome social media post, make an AI tool out of it, because don't let that post just go by on your feed or sit in your saved items for you to never check it again. Make an AI tool out of it and then use it. You'll get way more value out of those posts.
Dude, I love that. And I'm guilty. I'm the one who will post and like only go back to it to show people that I have bookmarked posts.
Yeah.
As we close out, Brian, there's one thing that we didn't touch on that I really wanted to touch on. And it was identifying what trends in marketing are versus like what are the core fundamentals that are unshakable. You've built teams to, somewhere to the tune of 15, 20 and up members of your team. I'm curious what sort of interview questions you're asking right now, and how do those distinguish what's truly important versus what's a trend?
That's a great question. So my interview questions are, again, pretty fundamental. The way I sort of encounter trends is I definitely follow and learn about them. Then I do my own testing, and then I see if anyone's sharing any results, because what I'm trying to do is make this thing prove itself. It could be interesting, and it could be conceptually sound, and it seems like it locks in with what we know, but it's got to prove itself. So when I'm building teams, when I'm doing my own work, that's kind of how I handle trends. In terms of hiring, the questions I answer, I just go right down the line of like, okay, let's start with content. Have you optimized content before? Cool. What do you do to optimize a page beyond just putting keywords in the title tag in H1? I want to hear like a little bit deeper. Have you ever created a new piece of content? Very cool. How did you create the outline? How do you choose the sections? That's a really big one. I want to hear that they've done the audience research, that they've talked with the client, that it's deeper than just, I look in the SERP and I open the top 3 ranking pages and I just gobble up what they're talking about, right? I want to hear more. I talk about their backlink techniques. What are your tactics? What are your methods? How do you generate those? What exposure do you have to technical, and what's worked for you in the past? So I definitely go down the line of fundamentals, but then I really drill into experience, and I want specifics. And it's not to ask gotcha questions, but I want to see where they're at practically with this stuff. And I don't want it to sound like a blog post or, this is like just a lot of generic content out there. Give me the meat, because I definitely think there's a lot of thought leaders out there that, again, are fantastic. I'm not throwing shade, but their client work is extremely limited. So to me, it's music theory. It's not music. And we need it, but I want to dig into the practical, because I deliberately stay close to client work for that reason. I don't want to fall too much into that bucket. The last thing I asked about is definitely AI. Give me your philosophy on it. Tell me some tools you built. What are some workflows? How do you use it to enhance your efficiency, to improve your output? How have you used AI to make yourself superhuman in 2026? So those are the kinds of questions I would ask.
I love it. I love it. And I don't think it's a gotcha question if, it's only a gotcha question if they don't know what they're talking about. And then they, if you've gotten that far in the interview, then they're good fakers, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Brian, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you for so much value and like actually walking us through step by step. I was feverishly writing my own notes to be able to apply, especially the one with creating content and doing that 30-minute a month type of deal. We've been looking for a workflow like that for quite some time.
I'm telling you, if you do that, and part of that is negotiating with your expert, because just one more thing, there's definitely a legacy attitude in the client universe of marketing is set it and forget it. An agency is a place that I hire, and they just put content up on my site and they make me rank. That is still around. So a big part of my work and my development over the years has been the negotiating and the education to tell clients, like, No, you need to participate in your own success. I don't have the tactic that's going to destroy your competitors. It's in you. It's
Mm,
you. You could, but what you know and what you do is not represented on your website or your socials. And
mm,
that's our goal, is to get it there. And I'll make sure it's buttoned up technically. I'll make
mm.
sure the copywriting is audience engaging. So you don't worry about that stuff, but you got to meet with me. So I'm telling you, if your audience tries that 30-minute workflow, they use the tools I stated, and anyone can reach out to me on LinkedIn if you need any more detail. I'm telling you, you're going to see your graphs go up.
So freaking cool. And yeah, so we can find you on LinkedIn. We can go to sixthcitymarketing.com. We'll include it in the show notes. Who are you looking for to reach out to you? Anyone in particular?
Please, anybody. I love connecting with thought leaders, agency owners, especially. I would love to talk to you. I'm completely open to it. I have SEOs and agency owners reach out to me on a regular basis. The SEOs will ask me for career advice, like, here's where I'm at. What should I learn next? Or where should I go next? I
Mm,
love that. I'm a former teacher and I
mhm.
love to mentor people. And agency owners, I love to help them kind of think about how they could structure for growth and better results. And especially if they're kind of stuck in a rut or doing things in the old way, I can help them modernize. But I'm definitely not pie in the sky, and I don't lean too much into trends. Like I said, if it's not proven, I will not advise you to do it.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank you again for being a great guest. Next time I'm in Rhode Island, we'll have to connect. Or if we're both in Cleveland, which is near my hometown, I'm going
Cool.
to give you a buzz. So very cool. Thank you for being here.
I'd love that. Yeah. Thanks so much, Austin.